Hello everyone, Maximilian Hart here for the Study Penguin podcast from studypenguin.com, and today we're going to be talking about how to start studying. It's not easy sometimes to just sit down and get things started. It's easier to, once you're started, to kind of keep going. Once you're kind of in a rhythm and you got your study groove on and you got your music and you're doing your thing, that's when it's easy. But it's really hard sometimes to just sit down and get busy. So today I'm going to give you 7 different things that you can try to help make that happen for you. So let's jump into it. Number 1, burn some energy. A lot of times you sit down and you're just like, burn some energy. Go for a walk. Go for a run. Go ride your bike for 20 minutes. Do 20 jumping jacks. Do as many push-ups as you can. Find something that will burn some energy, and when you get back from doing that thing, that's when you can sit down and get going. However, it's important not to have this burning energy distract you. You'll hear this as a common theme as we go throughout all of these 7 things that you can do to help get you started studying, is make sure that it's actually getting you to start studying and not just being a distraction. If going out for a run is going to be a distraction, don't do it. Find something else. Do jumping jacks in your room. Okay? Find some way to burn some energy, get you a little bit out of breath, get your heart pumping, which is good anyways for brain activity, and then get going. Sometimes I know people will go to a gym if they've got like something. I'll actually do this too for my lectures, for my classes that I'm taking. I'll put on headphones and go for a walk, or go to the gym and get on like a stationary bike or something and read, because you can read on a stationary bike. Why not? So you can kind of burn some energy and get your studying done that you need to do at the same time. So number 1, burn some energy. Tip number 2, clear a study space. Now, this is actually for those of you who are on the email list and who follow me on Instagram and whatnot, you've seen this. But clearing a study space is really important to help you focus, to help you kind of stay on task, because there are fewer distractions. When there is a lot of distractions where you're working, you are going to be distracted. But if you have fewer distractions there, you are less likely to be distracted. Seems pretty obvious, right? So number 3 is get rid of distractions, but we're going to get to that in a second. But number 2, clear a study space, because that's part of this process. If you have a clean study space, it's sort of like a reset button for your mind, where you get to that clean study space where you study and it's clean and your brain's like, okay, let's do this, right? Keeping your study space clean. If it's your desk, if it's like a little nook in the library, if it's your backpack, if it's your, laptop background even, the more cluttered your space is, the harder it's going to be to sit down and get started. Clean your space, keep your stuff organized so you know what's where and where to go to get things, and you'll find it a lot easier to get started. Which brings us to number 3, which is get rid of distractions. So we got burn some energy, clear a study space. Number 3, get rid of distractions. Now, whether this is, your GameCube, for those of you living in the 90s still, GameCube was amazing. Is it GameCube 90s? I don't even know. I got one like 5 years ago. Anyways, I'm behind the times in that regards, but get rid of distractions. If you are tempted to get on your Xbox, have you just put it away. Honestly, like unplug it, pack it up, put it away. If you're desperate, use like the Forest app on your phone so you don't get distracted there. It's incredibly useful. It really is. It seems cheesy, but it basically sets this timer, and then if you go away from that timer, then your tree dies, and then you feel bad because you killed the tree. Even though it's pixels. You pull up your phone, you're like, it's got like 9 minutes and 55 seconds remaining, and you're like, I can wait, So get rid of distractions, whether they're electronic, whether they're physical. Guys, this can include people. I'm not saying to off your roommate. I'm saying if you are around distracting people, remove yourself and go someplace where there are fewer distractions. If you're going to be distracted, at a Starbucks, try a library. If, like me, you'd be distracted at a library, try a Starbucks or something. This podcast not sponsored by Starbucks. So find some way to get rid of distractions, to look at something and be like, this is distracting me, and find a way to remove that from you. for at least a space of time so you can get started. Again, this is about getting started. If you have no distractions from your studying, there's nothing else exciting to do but just to start studying. So, burn some energy, clear your study space, get rid of distractions, and number 4 is make a list. You can tell I've made a list for this podcast. Making a list helps. Make a list of all the things that you have to do. It really is freeing when you have a lot of stuff and you know you have a lot of stuff. And I've talked about this before in previous episodes of the podcast to make to-do lists, but make a list. That way you're not worrying about it. It's not overwhelming. Just make a list. Make sure nothing's more than about 25 minutes. And just do the first thing on the list. When you do the first thing on the list and you forget everything else on the list and you say, okay, I just got to do this one thing, it's so much easier to get started. So make a list of all the stuff you have to do and then just do the first thing. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do all of it right now. Just do the first thing and that'll help you kind of get over that speed bump of getting started. So burn some energy, clear your study space, get rid of distractions, make a list. And then number 5 is related. Start with something easy. If that first thing is something easy for you, that's going to make it a lot easier to get into the rhythm. Now, I don't mean like easy, like, I'm going to scroll through my Instagram for 25 minutes. Like, no, that's not productive. Find something productive and useful to do for those first 25 minutes that won't get you distracted. So if it's reading your email, probably not. If it's reading in your textbook, that could be useful, right? Because that's something that's related, that's going to get your brain in the right spot, that's going to get you going. Okay? So start with something easy when you're starting on this list of to-do things that you've just thrown out there on your piece of paper. Number 6, so you've got burn some energy, clear study space, get rid of distractions, and honestly, you can do these things in order, right? Burn some energy first, then you sit down, you clear your space, get rid of distractions. Distractions, by the way, can include music, right? I have a lot of students who insist that they do better work with music on, but when they're writing a paper and their music includes words, like scientifically, like your brain cannot process words coming in and words going out at the same time very well. So if you're just life tip, if you're doing something involving words, like if you're doing math, it's less important. If you're working on like chemistry, you can have lyrics coming in your head because it's 2 different parts of your brain. But if you're trying to write a paper and you're listening to words, like music with words in it, it's going to slow you down. So if you're writing, like I would recommend having my study playlist. I have a study playlist on YouTube. You can check it out if you go to my YouTube, youtube.com/Maximilian Hart TV. You'll see I have the study music playlist, and all that stuff, almost all that stuff, has no words because I tend to do a lot of work with words, whether it's writing, whether it's grading papers, because I'm an English teacher. So find music that's not going to distract you, and be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself too about how often you're going to be changing the song. All right. Put on a playlist where you're not going to feel the need to pick up your phone and change the song. Just saying. I see it all the time. So getting rid of distractions, make a list, start with something easy, and then use a system. Tip number 6, use a system. Now, what do I mean by a system? I mean something that's going to help you get started, to help you once you get started, stay motivated, and to keep you going. So the system part is where you get over that start studying hump and keep studying. What I recommend strongly is something like the Pomodoro system, the Pomodoro technique. You can actually use this in conjunction with the Forest app because it's set up similarly, where for the Pomodoro technique, you set a timer for 25 minutes. And for 25 minutes, you go ham. You go just pure focus mode for 25 minutes. Anyone can focus on anything for 25 minutes, all right? You could focus on watching paint dry for 25 minutes. You seriously could. If you knew, okay, I only need to do this for 25 minutes, no matter what it is, you can get through it, okay? Even if it's reading. If it's reading, 25, you could do it. If it's like algebra, 25 minutes, you can do that. So you do 25 minutes of it. And this is why I recommend with your list, you don't have things longer than 25 minutes. So it's one Pomodoro chunk. You set a timer 25 minutes, and then when that's done, you take a break. It's important, even if you're mid-sentence writing a paper, to take a break at those 5 minutes. Because if you don't, you'll just kind of keep going, and then you'll take a break when you feel like it, and then the whole system falls to pieces. You want to stick to your system, because if you take that 5-minute break, you'll come back ready to go. So you take a 5-minute break, and then you come back and you do another 25 minutes, and then you take a 5-minute break. And you do that 4 times, so that way after 2 hours, you've done 2 hours worth of work, basically, with a total of 20 minutes of break in the middle there. And then you take about 15 to 20 minute break. That's when you could, go like stretch, go do something. But for those break times, those 5-minute break times, this 15 to 20 minute break time, stick to that time, but do whatever. Like, that's the time to pick up your phone and scroll through Instagram. That's the time to Snapchat your friends. Like, that's the time, right? To be distracted, to let your brain decompress a little bit, to give yourself that rest. And that system, I'm telling you, if you start using the Pomodoro system, you will see your productivity skyrocket. I see so many students who just sort of like, when they do homework or they talk about how they do stuff, like they're only half doing it. I'll see this after school in the library. Like, students will be studying, but they're really only half studying. They'll be studying a little bit and they'll talk to their friend and they'll kind of go back to studying, and then they'll be on their phone for a minute and then they'll go back to studying and then they'll swap to something else. If you fully focus for 25 minutes, you'd be surprised at how much you can do. And this system is something that will help you do that. So whether it's the Pomodoro technique or something else, use a system to help you start and keep studying. And then the last tip that I would recommend, after you burn some energy, you clear a study space, get rid of distractions and make a list and start with something easy on that list, and then use a system to keep yourself going. And the final number 7 tip is to set up a goal and reward. Set up a goal for yourself. It's motivating. If you set up a goal for yourself, so let's say like right now, right? I'm recording this podcast. I wrote a paper earlier today, majority of one about, I wrote a 3,000 word draft of a paper today using that system that I just mentioned. Okay. So it works. I can tell you it works. And I was very focused for a good while with those breaks in between to pick up the baby, love on the dog, browse Instagram or whatever. But now, like, I'm recording this podcast. When I finish recording this podcast, I'm going to edit it and do all the stuff that I need to do for that. But then if I finish at a reasonable time, my goal that I've set up for myself is to finish this at a reasonable time, because the reward, my wife and I started watching The Incredibles 2 yesterday, and we're going to finish it today, if I can finish in time. That's a motivation. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, like it's The Incredibles 2. But it's a reward. It could be something simple like that. It could be something like, I'm going to go play disc golf, if you're into that. It could be, I'm going to go to the mall. It could be, I'm going to, I don't know, talk and hang out with a friend. It could be, I'm going to play on my Xbox that I unplugged and packed away because I'm dedicated, right? Set up some sort of reward and a goal to trigger that reward. I'm going to do this by this time, and if that happens, then I'll do this. And when you have that concrete goal that's achievable, that's difficult, so it's not just a piece of cake and easy, right? Because if it's too easy, weirdly enough, you'll think like it'll be like the tortoise and the hare. You'll be like, oh, I can reach that. And then sometimes you won't. But if it's kind of difficult where you know, like, oh man, I got to get to work right away if I want to get that done, that really does help. Setting a goal that's difficult to achieve really does help you actually get there. So set up a goal and reward that will trigger when you reach that goal, and that is how you can start studying. So recap, bullet round, burn some energy, clear a study space, get rid of all your distractions, make a list, start it off with something easy, use a system, and set up a goal and reward. Those 7 things will help you start studying. They'll help you get busy. They'll help you sit down and get your brain where it needs to be so you can focus and you can make stuff happen. And the final bonus thing I would say, try studying in the same place. If you have this place and your little routine that you start to set up by doing these things, these 7 things, your brain and your body will start to go like, oh, it's time to get busy. And you will. And you'll be surprised at how much you can achieve. And you'll be surprised after a few tries doing this, how easy it is to get started studying and how easy it is to really get in that study groove where you can really start to get things done. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, I'd love it if you gave me a comment. What are some things on this list that you tried that have worked for you? Any things that I missed? Other tips and suggestions that you would suggest for other fellow students in the same situation? What do you use to get yourself into a study mode? I would appreciate it. And this podcast now, we're actually available on a lot of different places. We're on Google Music. We're on Spotify now. Still working on iTunes because, but if you have questions and you would like to call into the show, you can actually do that. Like actually call in and I'll play your voice. You can do that at anchor.fm/studypenguin. And that'll, using the Anchor app, like on your phone, you can actually call in and like I'll be able to be like, take your call, like on a Fancy Pants radio show. So that'd be kind of cool. If you got any ideas and tips and advice for students such as yourselves, call them in, let me know. And you can always, of course, let me know in comments here. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can say something in the comment section there and I'll see it. And same thing, if you're listening to this on the podcast, on any platform which you listen to podcasts, then Twitter is another great way to get in touch with me at Maximilian Hart _, because I'm that guy right now. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your audienceship, and I will see you all next week with some more things that you can do to make your life as a student a little bit better. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night or evening or afternoon or whatever it is, wherever you are, all around the world. And don't forget to never stop learning and always learn something new every day. Take care.